Hey YouTube, Kamen Rider here with my review of Kamen Rider Ex-Aid Episode 2. And unlike George's very boring outing this week, this was another strong episode for Ex-Aid to start off. I really enjoyed it. It did several things. It set up Kamen Rider Brave, and I think it started to give us a look at possibly some of the general, normal structure of an episode might look like, which is cool. I guess I'll start with Brave, because he actually debuted earlier in the episode than I was thinking. Even though, in more recent series, the action tends to be spread throughout the episode. Back in my day, they used to do the action. No, I don't want to do that whole bit. No, but back a while ago, Kiva, especially early on, you used to have 3/4 of the episode was setting up and talking, maybe a smidge of a scuffle, and then the very last fourth was the action. But in more recent years, which I guess now it's quite a while, more recent years, since the post-Decade era has been a while. But anyway, the action spread throughout. But nonetheless, my point of this nonsensical ramble, that's my entire life really, but is that Brave debuted in the episode itself earlier than I expected. Not necessarily the human person, but the rider fight. I was expecting, honestly, because even in the modern series, they'll debut the newer rider or the new thing closer to the end of the episode, and he was there pretty much in the first fourth. I don't know, I'm doing so many fractions. I hate fractions. But yeah, that was cool to see. And he's basically the classic, I'm trying to think of the correct word to make it seem smart. The anti to the main rider. The exact opposite of his philosophies. While the main rider is kind of optimistic and filled with toku nonsense, this guy's very calculating about it and is much more of a business approach, which it's a very, like I said, classic and almost paint by the number setup in a way. I don't want to make that sound really bad because it's not yet or anything, but it's kind of Dragon Knight and Wing Knight, or Ryuki and Knight, same thing, or even Gaiman Baron at the beginning. It's just sort of that traditional thing of the main rider's yay, saving people, and the secondary rider's I only care about brooding and fights. And that's pretty much what it's like. But it's done kind of interestingly in terms of meshing that type of deal both with the rider philosophy and the doctor philosophy, is that his whole shtick, Brave's whole shtick is I really don't care about the patient's life or his toku nonsense storyline of the week. I'm just going to save him, and that doesn't really matter. And then, of course, you got Emu over here having the name of a bird, being well, it doesn't even matter if they get better so long as they smile, or it doesn't matter if we make them better if they don't smile, which I think there's a middle ground, and I think that'll probably be something that the series will tackle. There's a middle ground between the two points of view. I'm kind of more on the side of Brave, mainly because the concept of if you make a patient better but not caring because they didn't smile is just stupid toku nonsense, but also not caring about the patient totally is kind of bad, because that can end up helping you possibly solve the case. I mean, they don't even watch Grey's Anatomy. I mean, they don't even know that Grey Sloan life. But like I said, there's a middle ground between the two, but I tend to find the more calculated approach more tolerable on screen than toku nonsense. But it makes for an interesting dynamic, and I think that could make for some interesting stuff in the future, albeit a bit generic because it's a pretty similar setup. Something else I do like about him is because he's based on RPGs, the way he approaches things in his fights are a little bit different, because RPGs, more often than not, are turn-based. Of course, you have action RPGs, but he's more tactical. Even his attacks with the sword and stuff are elemental-based, he's doing spells, whereas you have Ex-Aid hopping all around the field like platformer. I think that's really cool that they made that distinction. It's not amazingly harshly different in terms of basic fights, but it's still cool to see nonetheless that they will have different styles based on that. And yet again, I love how fun and different the fights are structured, and I think they should keep that up. I kind of wish the first monster they fought didn't look like a collection of poop. And it's kind of funny that they fight the bigger one first, because traditionally Rider was doing this thing of every now and then they're oh no, it got slightly bigger than normal and we need to use this iguana pirate ship we used twice. But I just kind of wish they looked a little different, but I still hope they continue the fights, because this week escalated it, where having multiple riders was a lot of fun, as you can have their different styles mashing up, which was cool. We also got an explanation of why you have to stay in level 1 to fight the first monster, because that's like the only way you can take it out at first. So that was kind of cool to show like why you don't just directly jump to level 2. And it was kind of funny because he transformed into 2 and then she pulled him back. And there was like a thing at the end where the monster wanted him to stay in level 1 by threatening this girl, and it was like tackling their philosophies where he's like, alright, well I better protect the girl, and Brave's like, hell with that noise, I'm just gonna go level 2 and take him out before he has a chance to do anything. So I think that was really good physical representation of their fighting styles. Also, something that's really cool and fun about Brave is he has these assistants that hand him his driver and his gashat, like medical equipment in surgery. The only thing I found awkward about it is he puts his hands out like this, and then, you know, one of them hands him the gashat, like a scalpel, and then you're expecting the other one to do the same with the driver, but then she puts it on him. It just seemed weird because she like approaches his hand like she's gonna put it on there, and so that looked dirty. But I think it would look cooler if they both just handed it to him, and then all he has to do is this, and you know, the rider belt goes on. So, but that was just kind of a cool, like, stylistic choice. But yeah, I really liked a lot about what they introduced. Also, what I wanted to talk about was this episode did have a sort of case of the week, with the guy having a little mini storyline about how his condition started after his fiance didn't want to marry him anymore, which caused him to have this problem, and they sort of deduce that it's possible that the bugsters can get in when you have stress and your immune system is weakened. Basically like getting sick in real life, but with crazy video game monsters. Classic Toku. But that was kind of neat. But the cool thing about that was I liked how this had a story of the week thing, but they didn't stretch it out, and it didn't take up the majority of the episodes. So, like in Ghost and other series a lot, sometimes the story of the week is pushed to the forefront, but I like that this week it was there, it was smaller, and it served its purpose, and a lot of its purpose went towards the conflict between Ex-Aid and Brave, which I thought was neat. So I'm not saying that we probably won't get 2-parters in the future, and hell, there might be episodes where it might just call for a 2-parter, even from my perspective, but I like the idea of not being structured to 2-parter stories of the weeks of these nonsense people, and maybe having quicker, faster, one-off stories that are just smaller, they get done quickly, they don't take up too much space, and they can serve much more of an overall purpose. So I liked that quite a bit. We also got to see a little bit more of Genmu in this episode. He kind of caused some trouble rolling through a fight scene like he did in Ghost, and we got to see Snipe set up for the next episode. So this is honestly a really good second outing. I really hope this continues because this is a lot of fun. I think they're setting up some intriguing things. I like the characters they have going. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. I'm not really bored yet, and I think they're taking really good advantage of the theme, even with the score is really neat. And it's something that makes me even more sad that Ghost didn't embrace its paranormalness, because they're really embracing their video game-ness. This is technical words all over the place, but it's just off to a really fun start. It's just such a bright, fun watch, but also there's elements of plot that I'm actually intrigued by, so I'm really praying. I'm still cautious, not because the first 2 episodes have given me pause about where the series will go, but because I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. But like, I really hope it continues to be enjoyable. This is a good second outing that did a good job of setting up a second writer, and also possibly giving us a look at the future structure of some of the series. So overall, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure you check out the Crazy Podcast at writersrangerambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Till next time, Dawson Rider, signing out.